Guys, Boots Ennis proves that he's as good as advertised. But so what's next for Duran Boots Ennis? All this and more on the latest edition of War Week Boxing.
Radvashan Holdings proudly presents War Week Radio Chats with ring announcer Joseph Herron.
Wow, guys, I tell you what, Duran Boots Ennis is indeed a special fighter. He beat an undefeated, very good champion with a deep amateur pedigree, former Olympian, beat him down and made it look easy. Guys, he is a special fighter. He is as good as advertised because no one has ever even come close to doing that to Stanionis, a very proud Lithuanian former champion. And once again, there's no shame in losing to Duran Boots Ennis because, yeah, he's that good, guys. He's that good. I was very, very, very impressed. That was amazing. Like, honestly, yeah, sky's the limit for this kid. If he can get up for these kinds of fights, once again, the biggest stage against a very good undefeated fighter. If he can get up for these kinds of fights, yeah, sky's the limit for this kid. He was dominant, taking away the jab with the work to the body, the activity, the power, the southpaw position, the lateral movement, turning Stanionis every single time he fired a combination. Yeah, Stanionis just couldn't get it in gear. And unfortunately for Stanionis, I mean, Sergio Mora, I will say this, love Sergio, the Latin Snake. Used to work with him a long time ago. And he was right on the money, saying that, hey, you know what? Because you're facing a more athletically gifted fighter with better reflexes, quicker. Yeah, more athletically gifted. You're gonna have to punch with him. Unfortunately, and once again, punching with him, a la JMM versus the more athletically gifted Manny Pacquiao. Unfortunately, though, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to take some incoming. And for a guy who punches as accurately and as powerfully as Duran Boots Ennis, yeah, that's not easy, guys. Obviously, that's not easy. I mean, he took away that jab within the first round and a half. It was beautiful. That was a beautiful performance. But I will say this, and once again, not taking anything away from Duran Boots Ennis, but I wasn't a huge fan of the decision by his team, his corner, Marvin Somodio. But once again, you didn't see him really protesting anything. He went along with it because he was getting beat up. And it was very, very clear to see. And it was very, very impressive. So, what do you guys want to see Jaron Boots Ennis do next? Because I can tell you this with great certainty. There's no way in Hades he's getting El Azteca, Mario Barrios. I can guarantee you that. And to be honest with you, Brian Norman Jr., even though he's a title holder, he wants too much damn money. I know this is a unification once again, but yeah, for the amount of money that he's asking for, that's unreasonable. Once again, what determines your market value in this business? Demand. Doesn't matter how good you are, how accomplished you are. If you can't sell at my living room on a Saturday night, then you don't deserve over $2 million to fight on DAZN. Yeah, I mean, honestly. So let's go to the chat. Let's see what everyone thinks, right? My brother Jesus M, good to see you. Happy Saturday, brother. Hope you enjoyed the fights. And he says, Ennis, best at 147. Shutout performance. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He neutralized all of Amantas Stanionis' strengths. And once again, man, all credit to Jaron Boots Ennis because Stanionis is much craftier than most people made him out to be. And I knew this. And he landed some very, very good counters. But he just could not get his primary weapon going. And that was the jab. Jaron had the perfect game plan. Setting up in the southpaw position. They start out orthodox. And it was the power, the activity, the body work, the footwork, consistently turning him, keeping the action in the center of the ring. Brilliant performance. And then when he switched to southpaw, he won the jab contest. Took it away. And Stanionis' only option was to punch with him. But yeah, it's a tall order when you're facing a guy like Boots who can actually crack. Not only does he have the excellence of execution, but he's got power. This guy's scary. I will say this, if he shows up like this from now on and doesn't just phone it in like he did against Karen Chikatsian, yeah, he's going to be very, very difficult for anyone. And it's funny, Eddie Hearn post-fight said, you know, I think people need to start considering him for pound. I agree. Once again, if you're going by the eye test, and you it's undeniable. He is an amazing talent. And the first guy I would drop from that list is not Tank Davis, but Devin Haney. I can't believe that Ring still has him in the pound for pound top 10. It's actually quite shocking. Yeah. So that's what I would do. But yeah, Jaron Boots Ennis is one of the best. He's an elite level talent, athletically gifted, and he's got so many tools in his arsenal. And when you're a guy like Amantas Stanionis, everything you have is based on the jab. And so, like when we talked about this on, I think it was Wednesday night, and I said, look, guys, Jaron Boots Ennis's best plan is to win the jab contest, take away his jab, just like he did just like Terrence Crawford did to Spence. Because without that first line of defense and without that very important punch that sets the table for his entire arsenal, you're done. Just like Andre Ward did to Mikkel Kessler. When you are facing a guy whose bread and butter is the jab, he lives and dies by the jab. It's his first line of defense, and it sets the table for his entire arsenal. When you take that away, checkmate. And that's exactly what he did. Two things I didn't like about this fight. One, I really didn't care for Harvey Dock allowing Jaron Boots Ennis to tie up Amantas Stanionis every single time he closed the distance. And Jaron, being a very resourceful, crafty, smart guy, wrapped him up. And once again, it's just like not paying your taxes. It's only illegal if the ref calls you out on it. It's only illegal if you get caught, right? Guys, at this time, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage my nephew, Tony Manzano. Tony, what did you think, my friend?
I hate Harvey Dock. I really do. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Why he lets these fighters tie up? Like, or do you think it's a train? Like, this is an honest question. We blame the referees. Could we go back to the training camp, and it's a lost art of not teaching these fighters how to push off and prevent your opponent from tying you up and stuff like that?
Look, brother. Look, I mean, Thomas Taylor, we've all seen how he handles business. He doesn't let you hold excessively. Now, once again, it wasn't excessive, but every single time Amantas Stanionis got in range, closed the distance, cut off that reaction time from Jaron Boots Ennis. Once again, guys, that's his entire fight plan. Because Jaron Boots Ennis has better reflexes, more athletically gifted, more tools in the chest. Your only chance to win is to cut off that reaction time and fight him in close quarters. And when the ref takes that away, yeah, it's done. So when you look at Jaron Boots Ennis taking away that jab, fighting out of the southpaw position, brilliant job. And then every time he got in close, Harvey Dock, let him tie him up and created that separation, forcing Stanionis to reset. But once again, guys, not taking anything away from Jaron Boots Ennis, because that was a brilliant performance. Brilliant performance. He had it all, guys. And you know what? You say what you want about his confidence, swagger, cockiness, but I'll say this, he's in good company. Because the two cockiest fighters I've ever seen was the late, great Sugar Ray Robinson and Floyd Mayweather Jr.
I thought you were going to say AB.
But look, man. I mean, look. Honestly, I was really disappointed that Stanionis quit on his stool.
No.
Whoa. Hold on. Dominic, brother, and once again, I said not taking anything. Dude, are you a contrarian, or do you actually listen to what we're saying? Ching Gao, dude. I'm like, look. That was his only chance to win. Was working behind the jab. Making it effective. Working behind an intelligent jab. Jaron Boots Ennis took it away. In my opinion, that was the primary difference in the fight. The body work was good. I mean, look, he had it all. He showed his entire arsenal in this fight.
But Harvey
he
Doc
fights
not.
his athleticism. Look, and all I'm saying is, without that jab, it's pretty much checkmate. The only chance Stanionis had after that was closing the distance, cutting off that reaction time and fighting him in the pocket, and Harvey Doc didn't let him do that. In my opinion, that's more than likely the reason why Marvin Somodio, once again, former understudy for Freddie Roach at the Wildcard Gym, in my opinion, that's the reason why he pulled the trigger on this fight. He's like, dude, he took away your jab, and Harvey Doc isn't letting you fight on the inside. Now, once again, I'm not saying that that's the only difference in this fight. But if the ref is not letting you work on the inside and letting your opponent tie you up, you have no chance. So for you not to recognize that, once again, I'm going to say it again. Your slip is showing, dude. You're showing your ignorance. Tony, did I leave anything out there?
No. For me, and this is where I'm. They need boxing needs to start punishing some of these promoters. Need to stop punishing certain refs for. I think some of these refs are catering to certain fighters, and honestly, that's why this is where I kind of felt that that's why Boots won this fight, because it seems like what's his Doc was favoring him way more. He allowed him to get away with a lot more than
No. Look. I will say this. The problem with refereeing, right? And this kind of pisses me off a little bit. It's almost like judging. It's almost like people put their own personal tastes and preferences in the job, and you don't have to do that. Like judges, like look at CJ Ross, right? And that's why I nailed her, man. That's why I knocked her off.
I have another judge. I can't
Look,
remember. He's like
that's why. Look, that's why I called her out before the fight. I said, look, she has a bad habit of giving the B side more credit than they deserve at times, because she doesn't want to be accused of favoring the A side, and it works against her where she's not objective any longer. That's how I knew she was going to score to draw in Canelo versus Floyd. That's what I'm saying, dude. Just do your damn job. Look, and this is something that really irritates me. And once again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, because this is not that big of an issue in this fight. Because let's just be honest, Jerron Boots Ennis whooped his ass. Let's just be honest. And the primary reason why, it wasn't the bodywork, Dominic. It was the fact that he took away his damn jab. Leaving
no, but you have
Stanionis.
to.
Go ahead. No.
but
I'm going to finish here. I'm going to finish.
Yeah.
The problem is, guys, holding is illegal. Like, there are a lot of people in this business who believe, oh, well, holding's a part of boxing. Fuck no, it's not. It's the worst part of boxing in the ring. Nothing breaks the flow of action more than holding, excessive holding. Now, once again, it wasn't excessive. Don't get me wrong.
But it was in critical points of the fight.
But it was every single time Stanionis closed the distance, got in close quarters. That was his only chance to win. As soon as he took away that jab, and once again, Stanionis was still fighting, still landing good, hard counters. Very crafty fighter. But without that jab dictating the pace of the fight, yeah, he's a different fighter. And Jerron Boots Ennis and Bozy Ennis deserve a lot of credit, man, for having the perfect game plan and taking it away.
But that's a question I want. Do you think it's 50-50 when it comes to Jerron executing his game plan, and also Harvey Doc basically allowing him to hold in critical points of the fight when when Amontes tried to go inside.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, look, I guarantee you that's why Marvin Simodio actually called a halt to the bout, just threw in the towel after round 6 because they
Because
had no chance.
Amontes wouldn't want to give up, to be honest.
Oh,
Like,
hold on, real quick. Jesus M. Joe Stanionis' punches were slow, telegraphed. Um, honestly, consider his competition. Jerome Boots Ennis is one of the most athletically gifted fighters in boxing at this time. That's no indictment if you're slower and don't have the reflexes of Jerome Boots Ennis. That's not a real indictment of your skill level or quality, right? And once again, if Stanionis, if he were that slow and telegraphed his punches, he wouldn't have landed those counters against. Once again, it was a very competitive fight up until 5 and 6. I thought, once again, hold on, guys. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce to the stage Ugo. Hey, what'd you think, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Joe? Hope you guys had a good evening. Let me know if I have too much background noise. Just with me in case it comes out too loud. I'm out and about, so
No, you're fine.
um,
You're fine. What'd you
cool,
think?
cool. Yeah, well, pleasantly surprised. I caught most of the fight from the first round, half of the first round on, and yeah, too much output for Stanionis. I mean, to your point, what you just mentioned right now, Stanionis was landing the more effective punches, the more early on, But then Brooks just picked it up, and too much speed, too much tools. He was moving great. He looked better. I mean, in the extent this matchup made him look good, which is not terrible, but I just want to see if he keeps it up. If he moves up and see what
I don't think
happens.
he
But
can do that against Virgil, to be honest. I do
Wait,
not
wait,
think
wait,
so.
whoa, guys, hold on. Dominic, man, look, dude. Why don't you just click the link, man? Just come on, dude, and save us all some headache, right? Because I'm gonna say this now. Once again, dude, your slip is showing. I disagree. He didn't completely take away the jab. Stanionis landed that often. Just look at his CompuBox numbers. What's your reference? Compared to what? Compared to Boots? Compared to Mario Barrios? Dude, go look at his other fights. Go look at his other fights and go look at his CompuBox on his other fights. That's his primary weapon, the jab. And that was his game plan. If you know what you're looking at, Dominic, which obviously you don't, you understood that that was his primary game plan, to take away the jab and keep turning him. So he had to reset. And every time he closed the distance and cut off that reaction time, tie him up and allow Harvey Dock to separate, giving him that distance that he needed. And if Harvey Dock was willing to do that, hey, checkmate. But look, guys, once again, this is just X and O's 101, guys. Your jab, when you're a fighter like a Stanionis, your jab is your first line of defense and the most important punch in your arsenal. Like, how can you not see that? It's just like Errol Spence Jr. How did Terrence Crawford make it look so easy? He took away the jab. How did Andre Ward beat Mikkel Kessler so decisively? He took away the jab, his primary weapon and his first line of defense. Once again, dude, this is very, very easy when you know what you're looking at, Dominic. But hey, man, it'll come in time. Ugo, like honestly, let's shift gears a little bit, man. And once again, Sergio Mora, I thought, did a very good job in his commentary, pointing out the obvious that Stanionis, because he was at such a disadvantage in reflexes and athleticism, he was forced to punch with him. a la JMM Manny Pacquiao. Obviously, Manny Pacquiao is a genetic freak, right? And he couldn't match speed with Manny. So he was forced to take a beating and punch with him. And it worked in the fourth fight, anyway. But it was very competitive. But when you're facing a guy, Ugo, like Duran Boots Ennis, who can really punch at 47, yeah, that's a very dubious fight plan now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he had real much of a choice, though. I mean, I knew Stanionis was game. That's sort of what he defaults to in different style matchups, at least from what I've seen from the guy. So, yeah, it was just a matter of he was able to survive the power, and he couldn't. I was surprised that he stopped him that way. I thought he was. I didn't understand what happened at first. I thought he got injured or something, but he just didn't want anymore. It's too much. It's difficult, yeah, when you don't have the PRA advantage and the guy has slightly better shot selection, and then he's continuously pressuring you. It's a recipe for disaster. You have to, there's a lot of ways to counter that, but in this situation, Stanley almost only has so many tools. So surprising, but yeah,
Yeah,
tough shit.
yeah, and Platinum. Well, welcome to the show, brother. Good to see you, man. Wish you were here more often, my friend, because you're a lot more insightful than our friend Dominic. And I say that in jest, my friend. But yeah, Platinum says I didn't see much holding. Stanionis had no power to hurt Ennis. Story of the fight. Um, in my opinion, we didn't get to find that out. I thought he got his respect, and he was landing clean counters. They were just very few and far in between. Because once again, you shouldn't try to counter someone who's that much quicker and more athletically gifted with better reflexes. Once again, if you're trying to counter that guy, yeah, you're not going to be landing enough to win the fight. You have to punch with him. And once again, man, if you're fighting a guy like Duran Boots Ennis with that kind of power at 47, yeah, that's a very tall order. In my opinion, though, and the reason why I brought up the holding, that's why they quit. That's why they quit. Because Duran Boots Ennis, once again, the primary reason why Duran Boots Ennis won was because he took away the jab. A la Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., a la Andre Ward, Mikkel Kessler. That's his first line of defense and his primary weapon. It's the punch that sets the table for his entire arsenal. And when he can't get that going, and Duran Boots Ennis did a brilliant job establishing his own jab, and then when he would fire off a combination, he would immediately turn him. So he was forcing him to reset. He just outclassed him. Too good, too strong, too athletically gifted. But that's, in my opinion, that's why Marvin Somodio pulled the plug on this one. Because, dude, so the reason why I'm saying this is your only chance to win then is to cut off that reaction time so you can land. Because was he having much success, Ugo, landing from mid to long range?
No, uh, nah, he was better in the pocket, but even then, yeah, for every shot, Ennis was throwing about two or three. At least, he had
Yeah.
something to respond all the time. Different angles, different tempo. It was just, yeah,
Very,
outclassed.
very, very creative combination punch into the body and head body. It was a beautiful performance by Duran Boots Ennis. So once again, I'm not putting the majority of the emphasis on it. What I'm saying is, I can't stand it in a fight of this magnitude where it's a unification bout and the referee doesn't tell him to stop holding because it's illegal. And this is something that happens in boxing way too frequently, though. Now, once again, it wasn't the determining factor, but it was the reason why they quit. I can guarantee it. They're like, dude, your only chance to win is to try and cut off the reaction time of the more athletically gifted guy And if the referee isn't letting us fight in close quarters, then we have no chance. You're just going to take a beating, and it's going to shorten your career. That was my point. But make no mistake about this. And once again, and I said this in the beginning, in the outset, don't take anything away from Jaron Boots Ennis. It was a brilliant plan. Brilliant fight plan between from him and Bozy, right? But yeah, him not being able to fight in close quarters, that was checkmate. That was the only chance he had. Ugo, before we move on and talk about the future of Jaron Boots Ennis and what would you like to see him next, do you have any final thoughts on this performance and what you saw tonight?
Again, I was surprised. Good for him. I want to see more. He outclassed him. Simply put, I also enjoyed the fact that there were certain body shots. There was like a sequence in the fifth round where he Boots pivoted or he slipped two punches and then instead of I thought he was gonna go to the head or try to jab him and then move out the way or something, but he ended up that small hook to the body. That was great. That was exceptional. That was a very interesting shot selection. So overall, good performance by him. Hopefully, he keeps it up.
Yeah, I thought his combination punching was very creative, and it really kept Stanionis off balance. I mean, it was just a dominant, almost perfect performance. I will say this though, sometimes he gets a little too cocky, Jaron, where he falls in love with his offense because he got hit cleanly. Now, once again, this is part of boxing, though. You're going to get hit. I mean, if you're in the ring and you're at this level, you're going to get hit. And, a lot of fans don't realize that. But I will say this, though. If he's going to be taking on guys like Virgil Ortiz, if he's going to be taking on guys like Bakram Murtazaliev, Sergey Boachuk, Terrence Crawford, the elite of the elite guys, right? In that higher weight division, he's going to have to tighten up his offense because those are much bigger guys and he's not going to be able to hurt them as easily. But I tell you what, though, sky's the limit for Jaron Boots Ennis. In my opinion, I have no desire to see him fight Brian Norman Jr. because Montes Stanionis is a much craftier, more defensively responsible fighter than Brian Norman Jr. Why are we going to see that? And once again, what does Brian Norman Jr. do? He fights in the pocket. And he's too porous defensively. He has way too many defensive lapses. Jaron Boots Ennis would carve him up like a Thanksgiving turkey. And honestly, I really don't care to see it. He's the class. This was the fight. And obviously, I'm not alone in thinking that because the Ring Magazine belt was up for it for a reason. It was being offered in this fight for a reason. Ugo, are you interested in seeing Jaron Boots Ennis fight either Mario Vargas or Brian Norman Jr.?
No, I think they're easy for him. Barrios is the lesser of the two, but yeah, I can agree 100% with your points about Norman. At top of that, he's a bit boring, so it's not. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. He should move up, fight the fights we want to see.
Like, honestly, that's where the money is anyway. Think about this, guys. Is there any money in the welterweight division any longer? Now that Spence and Terrence Crawford moved up? Oh, hold on. Brother, Brian Norman Jr., he may have power against guys like Santillan, but he may have power against C-level fighters. But in the elite, Brian Norman Jr. isn't a power puncher. He's how many one-punch knockouts does he have? He's an accumulated guy. In my opinion, Brian Norman Jr. gets his ass whooped convincingly. Like, honestly, his punches are too wide. Go look at his technique. Go look at that fight in Santillan. Now, once again, he very bold of him. And he really let his balls hang, man, in that fight, Brian Norman Jr. But look how often he got hit. He was getting tagged by a guy who's not near Jaron Boots Ennis' level or a Stanionis. Santillan? Come on now. He was getting beaten. I mean, that was a fight. So if he's going life or death with Santillan, oof, he's going to get his ass whooped by Jaron Boots Ennis, dude. And I really don't care to see it. He is the class of this division by far. Now, I know that, hey, that's why they fight the fights. But honestly, I really don't care. There's no money in this division. All the money's up north, 154. Fight Virgil Ortiz. And once again, man, how many fights has Turkey Al-Sheikh staged in the welterweight division? Ugo?
Yeah, not too many, if any.
Like, honestly, man, can you name one?
No, the only fight that would make sense if it, I don't know if I think Ryan has moved up, right? I think Ryan Garcia against Boots, that'd be interesting, but nah, nothing else. There's nothing there. There's nothing. Mario Barrios is lackluster on top of that, so that's the guy that everybody right now is putting some attention to. It's terrible. He's not. He's
Yeah. Look, guys. He's a very vulnerable fighter, and he will never be elite. There's a reason why Tank Davis picked him. There's a reason why he's the lightest regard. And once again, not taking anything away from him, but he is the lightest regarded champion at 147 for a reason. Hold on. Why would Turkey want to make fights at welterweight? Because historically, since the 80s anyway, it's been the second glamour division in all of boxing, but behind the heavyweights. Here to there. I'm not sure if it's going to be Floyd or Manny, but he's going to be fighting Floyd or Manny. And you're not supposed to hear that from me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. In my opinion, he fights Floyd Mayweather Jr. And there's a reason why Floyd Mayweather Jr. is coming out of retirement and thinks he can beat Mario Barrios. And the WBC is going to sanction it. And it's going to be in Dubai. Oh, you know what, Dominic? Just stop, dude. Just stop, man. Look, if you know what you're looking at, and once again, Dominic, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Why wouldn't you stage a genuine badass like Jaron Boots Ennis on your cards instead of Joseph Parker? Look, Joseph Parker's a very good fighter and a legitimate champion at one time. And, he's done very well in the last 2-3 years since getting his ass whipped by Joe Joyce. But you can't compare the two. Jaron Boots Ennis has the potential to be a generational talent. He's that good. And if you're going to put your money behind somebody, hey man, it makes more sense to financially support a real thoroughbred like Duran Boots Ennis. I mean, let's be honest, Hugo. How high is the ceiling for Duran Boots Ennis, brother?
Yeah, it's sky's the ceiling. If anything, he has high entertainment value. At least it's engaging. So ultimately, it's an entertainment sport. You want to entertain the people. At least the majority of the time, he has that. Aside from obviously the things you mentioned, it's a no brainer. Why would I waste my time with other people that show less to the sport? They bring less, and they're counterproductive to the end goals of the industry. So
Yeah, look, man. I mean, the only thing Duran Boots Ennis needs to do at this time, he needs to stay active. He needs to stay active. He needs to keep sharpening his tools. He needs to stay in the ring because this once, maybe twice in the per year isn't cutting it. He's not a big ticket seller yet. And how do you get there? How do you become a big ticket seller? You've got all the skill. You're a top 10 pound for pound guy. Potentially, you could be the number one pound for pound guy when everything is said and done. Like when, let's just be honest, man. I mean, he's only 27 and he already has this kind of skill set, freakish athleticism, reflexes, power. What can't this guy do? And so Turkey Al Sheik, hold on. Dude, you know what? Honestly, Dominic, I think you're just a contrarian. You just disagree just to disagree because it makes no sense. There are no pay-per-view worthy fights in the welterweight division right now. So was Arthur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol pay-per-view worthy? Obviously, no one in America thought so because it sold less than 50,000 purchases. That's not good, brother. And once again, look, if you're going to invest in a fighter, right, and base it on his potential, like he has the potential to be the biggest star of the sport. He has that. He's got that charisma. He's got that skill. He's got that power. He's got that toughness. He's got it all. And he's only 27. And he's only going to continue to get better. Why wouldn't you invest in that guy instead of a 40-year-old Arthur Beterbiev who couldn't sell out my living room on a Saturday night? Think, Dominic. Think. That was my point. Hawker Mustang, welcome to the show, sir. Good to see you, my friend. He said Boots will have huge problems at 54. And Janabek will start him at 60. I don't know about that. Once again, guys, baby steps. Respect the weight divisions. In terms of having huge problems at 54, Ugo, who would you favor? Who would you favor over Duran Boots Ennis at this time at 154 pounds?
um, it's I don't know. The only guy really that stands out would probably be Virgil, but yeah, I think he's very competitive at 154. He's not as
He doesn't have to kill
uh,
himself to make weight. Let's just
no.
be honest, guys. Look, before the week of the fight, he looked terribly emaciated. And that's the reason why I was really high on an upset because he looked terrible this week. Let's just be honest, guys. He looked awful. And he goes, "Oh, I didn't have any trouble making weight." Really? Is that why you hired a nutritionist? Because you weren't having any trouble making weight? Bullshit. Guys, in my opinion, this was his last fight at 47. There's no money in fighting Brian Orman Jr. He's going to demand too much. And Mario Barrios, I can tell you, I know his camp. And there's no way in Hades they take that fight unless you pay him $20 million, and he's not worth that much. So you might as well move up to 54 because that's where the money is and that's where the competition is. In my opinion, Jaron Boots Ennis outclasses and stops Sergey Boachuk. In my opinion, Jaron Boots Ennis outclasses Bakram Murtazaliev. I don't know if he stops him, but yeah, he outclasses him. The only fight that I'm interested in seeing Jaron Boots Ennis, where like there's a question there, in my opinion, is Virgil Ortiz and Terrence Crawford. That's it. Let's just be honest, guys. Jaron Boots Ennis carves Sebastian Fundora like a Thanksgiving turkey. And it would be, you would have to file assault charges if someone ever put him in the ring with Errol Spence Jr. at this time. So let's just be honest, guys. Once again, yeah, I don't see him having huge problems at 54. I think his biggest competition is going to be Virgil Ortiz. And we all know Terrence Crawford is not going to fight him because there's no money right now in Jaron Boots Ennis. He's too young. He hasn't built that brand yet, right? But he's well on his way. And I tell you what, sky's the limit, guys. This kid is special. Say what you want about Armantas Stanionis. Go back and look at his other fights. No one has ever done that to Armantas Stanionis, not even close. Just like, say what you want about Errol Spence Jr. being a shot fighter. No one had ever done that to Errol Spence Jr. before Terrence Crawford whooped that ass. That's what special fighters do, guys. They get up for the big assignments, and they make it look easy. That's what special fighters do, guys. Like, look at, do you remember Floyd Mayweather Jr., Ugo, against Diego Corrales at 130 pounds?
Yeah.
Everyone thought, oh, this is the fight. Oh, man, Diego Corrales, man, he can crack. And he can bang, man. I don't know if he's going to be able to handle that pressure from Diego Corrales at 130 pounds. Floyd whooped his ass. I think he knocked him down 7 times in the fight. Whooped his ass. That's what look, if you're wondering how a fight with Boachuk and Murtazaliev would look, it would look like Floyd versus Diego Corrales. I don't know if they'd stop him, but it would look that one-sided. Because Jaron Boots Ennis, you just saw it tonight, guys. Armantas Stanionis is an excellent fighter. But without that jab, he looks very ordinary now, doesn't he? And Jaron, he's a switch-hitting badass, just like Terrence Crawford. Arguably has more power. He's 5'10". He's 27. And he can fight better in the pocket. That's a... Man, honestly... Yeah, look, sky's the limit, man. And if you're thinking that Janibek Ali Manala starches him at 60, no one starches Jaron Boots Ennis. No one. Now, he might win a decision, maybe. And I don't think so. Because Janibek, guys, is a very ordinary-looking fighter if you force him to take the lead. Go watch his fights when he has to take the lead and he's fighting another counterpuncher. He has trouble. If you come right at Janibek Ali Manala, just like Guillermo Rigondeaux, he's going to carve you. He's going to whoop your ass and make it look easy. But if you force him out of the pocket and make him take the lead, Janibek, look, What he does extremely well, but he's a one-trick pony, guys. He hasn't added that new wrinkle of cutting out the ring and closing the distance effectively. Guys, Jaron Boots Ennis can do it all. We just saw it. He can fight backing up. He can put pressure and cut off the ring and close the distance effectively. He can be the ring general. He can be the effective aggressor. In my opinion, guys, yeah, Jaron is special. And he showed that tonight. And honestly, I'm shocked that some of these guys are actually dismissing how good Stanionis was. Jump to, welcome to the show, sir. He says, Joe, do you think the ring belt should have been put up for this fight? Absolutely. Because this was the fight. Ugo, am I wrong about that?
Nah, yep. They should have been, but I don't know what happened with that. But I actually thought it was already on the line, but I don't know.
No, he won the ring belt. It was up.
Yeah,
And so
but
he's asking, should it have been? Because you have two other title holders in the
yeah,
division. But let's be honest, guys. They don't stand a chance against Jaron Boots Ennis. And once again, I don't want to diminish anyone's chances in the ring because look, you always have a chance. Anything can and often does happen in the theater of the unexpected. That is boxing. But come on, guys, if you're being honest with yourself, do you really care to see Jaron Boots Ennis beat up on Mario Vargas or Brian Norman Jr. just for a belt? Who gives a shit? He's the best. And that's why Doug Fisher and Ring Magazine, their voting panel, elected to put the ring up for grabs because this was the class at 47. What are you going to wait for Cody Crowley? I mean, look how weak this division is at this time. It's so top heavy, it's absurd. It's one of the weakest divisions in boxing, but I will say this. Jaron Boots Ennis is a special fighter. No doubt about it, guys. He is the class of 47. And you know what? I think he's going to be the class of 54 and 60 as well. He is a special fighter. Like, Ugo, what doesn't he do well?
yeah, yeah. That's what I do. Like good shot selection, good power, good technique, good movement. Good chin. Also, I think I've heard also outside a lot of people over time leading up to what Boots is as a fighter right now. The kid always had a chin in the gym. You know, he's been cracked, and I heard it from a good source. So I believe the individual, and that too. He has a good chin. Obviously, just like how you said, brush up on the offense. There's no reason to take damage. I think as a fighter, if you don't need to, I would only take the damage if I needed to, put my shot in there. But other than that, yeah, the kid does pretty good all around. And also, one thing I liked about this fight too, when he was switch hitting, he had a better idea of when he wanted to switch his stances and when he wanted to throw, when he slightly moved out of the way. Those little things like that make up. They matter a lot, especially if he brushes up on that. I think that'll also make him very, very difficult fighter to deal with in every aspect: mid range, long range, short range.
Yep.
So.
Yep. He's very proficient at every range. So Big Luke, thank you for joining us, my friend. Good of you to stay up this late, man. He says, does Boots typically spend that much time in the southpaw stance? No. But it was his best chance to take away that Stanionis jab. Just like Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. You take away his jab, which is once again his first line of defense, and the primary weapon, the punch that sets the table for his entire arsenal of punches, a la Mikkel Kessler, a la Errol Spence Jr. You take away the jab, they're done. They're at a severe disadvantage. And he did that as early as, well, let's just be honest, man, round 2. Beautiful performance from Boots Ennis. But no, he doesn't typically spend that much time in the southpaw stance. It was this fight. He normally doesn't spend as much time in the southpaw position that Terrence Crawford does. In fact, I don't even know why they consider Terrence Crawford an orthodox fighter anymore. Oh, hold on. Dude, yeah. Look, you know what, man? Honestly, you should just come on the show, Dominic, because I really grow weary and grow tired of correcting you all the time. You're saying that Dmitry Bivol versus Arthur Beterbiev was pay-per-view worthy? Yeah, that's why they stacked the card, because it was pay-per-view worthy. Ugo, does that make any sense at all?
Nah, no. Even before leading up to
You
the
guys
matchup,
can't sell tickets.
yeah, simply put, yeah, can't sell.
Yeah, look, Dominic, in case you didn't know, that's why they stacked that card. Because they were hoping, and once again, this is Turkey Al Sheikh's inexperience in the business. No one buys a pay-per-view for the undercard. Not even the diehards. Because they're stealing this shit, as you just saw on the pay-per-view numbers. So, once again, understand this, guys. Turkey Al Sheikh is still learning on the job. With all due respect, boy, it's a very expensive lesson, but he's still learning on the job. And, you know, I like what he's trying to do. But the only thing I don't like, and this is his biggest detriment, this is the biggest problem with Riyadh Season and Sella, is they came out of the gate just like Al Heyman and PBC, overpaying talent way more than their market value. And when you set that precedent, and he's doing this just to attract talent, to put together the best fights. But when you set that precedent, you can't go backward. It makes it like when these guys, when they grow accustomed to making millions for soft touches, how much is it going to take then to make the best fights? Like, look at Bivol versus Beterbiev. Does either guy really deserve 10 million rock? Ugo? Does either Dmitry Bivol or Arthur Beterbiev deserve $10 million?
No, I mean, I would like them to get paid. Every fighter to get paid, right? That's worth the entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
they're
if it
underrated.
were,
They're underrated fighters, but you know,
uh-huh. If it were a
but
perfect world, guys, like if it were like the NFL or if it were like MLB, then yes, your pay grade would reflect your skill set and stature and accomplishment. But that's not the way it works in boxing. If you don't put asses in seats and you don't draw ratings, why do you think it took Turkey Al Sheikh to make this fight a reality? Because no promoter wanted to lose money. And you're saying it's
yeah,
pay-per-view work. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
both Bob and Solomon, touched upon it. Yeah, this fight, that particular matchup should have happened a long time ago. There was no ducking involved. There's just people. There's not enough money, even to this day. There's just not a lot of attention. Nobody really cares for Beterbiev or Bivol, even Bivol. I think it's more of a disgrace that Bivol is not recognized more, but it is what it is. It just comes down to people don't want to watch him as much. Only
Yeah, yeah. I
only the
mean,
hardcores. So is what it is.
yeah. It's yeah. It really makes me feel bad for some of these fighters. Especially when ones are humble as Arthur Beterbiev. Dmitry Bivol, yeah, not as much. But one thing I cannot stand though is when guys, oh man, I want that bag. Like Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, when they can't sell shit and they think they deserve $5 million per fight. Like, go back and look at how much that is in terms of boxing. Boy, you better be an attraction if you want to get $5 million guaranteed. Do you remember, Ugo, when Floyd was the biggest star of the sport? The money man, Money Mayweather? And
Yeah, of
and
course.
how much was, do you remember that saying, oh, who's gonna win the Floyd Mayweather sweepstakes and get his fight next? Do you know how much he gave his opponents guaranteed? And this was
No,
against the biggest star of the sport.
no, I'm not
Do
sure.
you,
Maybe.
no, I can tell you. I can tell you because I used to work with Golden Boy. 3 million guaranteed. That's it. And that was a lot of money back then. And that was against the biggest star of the sport. And then you got
Yeah,
assholes like Shakur Stevenson, who put people to sleep, and Devin Haney, who couldn't sell out my living room on a Saturday night, and they're demanding $5 million per fight. Once again, this is caused by guys like Al Heyman, Eddie Hearn, Turkey Al Sheikh, consistently paying inflated purses to attract talent. Guys, when are they going to learn that it doesn't end well? Like honestly, how much is it going to take to make Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis now? Because they've overpaid him. This is why Devin Haney isn't interested in fighting anyone but Ryan Garcia now. Because he's all about making that money. He's a product of inflated purses. This is what's wrong with boxing. And it never ends well for the health of the sport, guys. Man, I tell you what. Dominic, why don't you go watch that, man? That's I think more your speed, dude. I think when we're talking about the business of boxing and what goes on inside the ring, yeah, you still a little bit to learn, man. So why don't you go watch UFC, brother? That's good for you. Wouldn't you say, Hugo?
yeah. He should also watch Dancing with the Stars and Disney movies, all that.
Yeah, like honestly, dude, honestly, man, I don't know why you're a contrarian here. I guess you just like to troll. You think there's some merit in that? But dude, honestly, man, it's embarrassing, dude. Stop it. Like look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Joe Pocket Watcher Heron. I just explained why paying out inflated purses is so bad, detrimental for the health of the sport. Paying out purses that far exceeds a fighter's market value. I just explained it. Hold on. Joe, I would pay you a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of E&J. Dude, if you drink that cheap brandy, kiss my ass. Hugo, let me ask your opinion. I've never gotten your opinion on this. He says combat sports is entertaining. Do you find UFC entertaining at all? MMA, do you find that entertaining? Just
You're
just out of
asking.
just out of curiosity, I'm asking you. Do you find
Uh,
MMA and UFC to be entertaining?
uh, at one point in time, it was not as bad, but overall, no. I mean, I've always stuck with boxing. It's just even in MMA, what you see, the more famous guys, the guys who have something to talk about, are mostly strikers, or they stand. And but overall, no. Especially now, given like the UFC sort of the way the machine works, there's too much boring talent getting ahead, So and they're
You
not
know,
really doing much. So
to be honest, the biggest turnoff for me is all of the different kicks, knees, elbows, headbutts, all that shit that you can do. In my opinion, it's not sportsmanlike, especially when you knock someone down and you can just get right on top of them and beat the shit out of them. That's not very sportsmanlike. It's not a gentleman's sport. These guys are fucking animals. And in my opinion, women should not be competing in UFC MMA because that is brutal, man. Oof. Like, I don't even think they should be competing in boxing, to be honest. And MMA, holy shit. It's brutal, man. You can knee some chick in the face. You can elbow some chick in the eye socket. And when you hurt them and you put them on their ass, you can get on top of them like a schoolyard bully. In my opinion, that's not very enjoyable. I don't know. That's just me, though. Guys, once again, boxing is not about violence. A lot of people criticize, a lot of UFC fans criticize boxing because it's too violent or it's not violent enough. Yeah, that's right. It's a sport. And it's not about violence, boxing. It's about sportsmanship and athleticism, which is the way sports should be. Am I wrong in feeling that way, Hugo?
No. Yeah, it's competitive. It's purely competition. There's a set of rules. Yeah, I get it.
Like honestly, dude, it's a gentleman's sport. I love boxing. I love when you hurt your guy, put him on Queer Street. Yeah, you give him a chance to recover and fight back. That's a sport. MMA, brutal, man. What sport? How is it sporting getting on top of somebody when he's hurt, and you just get on top of him and start beating the shit out of him, and the ref just steps in and pulls you off? It's over. Hold on. Dominic, I'm going to teach you something, dude. And honestly, if you actually listen, you would actually learn a lot on this show because I find myself correcting you and teaching you all kinds of shit. Now, UFC is mixed martial arts, a combination of all fighting sports. True. But how watered down and at what level is their pugilism? Hugo? Not at a very high level, is it? Like, and we can all agree that pugilism is obviously the most fan-friendly form when it comes to combat sports. It's the most fan-friendly for the fans, stand-up punching, right?
Yeah,
And when you look at the level of MMA, how good are their stand-up fighters? They like, and once again, we're not even going to go into the fact that they purposely call them strikers and not boxers because Dana White is a cheap piece of shit. But at what level? Like, we just saw Francis Ngannou get his ass whooped by a shot Anthony Joshua. We saw Conor McGregor get carried for 10 rounds by Floyd Mayweather Jr. doing his best Rocky Marciano impression. Like, so if that discipline of combat sports is that bad, what are you actually getting in wrestling, jiu-jitsu as well? Have you ever thought about that, Dominic? If their boxing, their stand-up game is that bad, how good is their wrestling and jiu-jitsu? You thought about that? No,
and even when they're
he probably hadn't put that together, did he, Hugo?
yeah, and even when they are good in both of those disciplines, it's still relatively boring. Most people don't want to watch it. You have to really be into. Most of the guys, for example, that appreciate the jiu-jitsu are the guys that are doing it. So there's not really much. It's overall boring. Most people will just simplify it to they're hugging each other on the ground, and a lot of their guys that are champions now and successful right now are huggers. They're just like scrappy wrestlers from Dagestan mostly, or they come from that world. So yeah,
Well,
it's not entertaining.
we could just be like Bob Arum. Look, if I wanted to see two guys rolling on the ground, humping each other, then I'd go watch MMA.
Yeah,
Like, honestly, the boxing sucks. These guys don't know how to fight. Like, honestly, they don't even know how to throw a punch. They don't have good footwork. They don't have good balance. They don't get a lot on their shots. Dude, when you get knocked out by Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor thought he was going to knock out Floyd. What was Floyd's reaction after the fight? Man, he doesn't know how to punch. He's got no power. And that's Floyd. Once again, guys, you can't compare the two. You can't compare it. And so if that discipline of pugilism is that bad and that watered down, then you pretty much have to assume, because you're incorporating all of those other styles, that the other ones are just as watered down and just as bad. So why the fuck would I want to watch that, Ugo?
yeah. It's also gimmicky if you think about it, because like there's varying degrees of skills in every most of the fighters, you know. So there's also that in the play. That's always what I thought about it as a whole. It's a bit gimmicky because you're not really getting what you're told. Nobody's on the same level, and even if they are, somebody's better than the other on a certain thing, and all the other skill sets are just boring. They're not attractive. So,
Yeah,
I don't
look,
know.
like I was the ring announcer for an MMA fight about 10 years ago. And when I was sitting outside of the ring, every time both guys hit the canvas, I always had to look up at the screen to see what the fuck was going on. That's not very enjoyable in a live event, in my opinion. Like, why are you there live then? You might as well stay home and watch it on TV, right? But Dominic feels that I don't know what the F I'm talking about. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, when you have your own podcast and you've been in this business for 25 years, then maybe you can say I don't know what the F I'm talking about. But until then, yeah, shut up, dude. Look, like once again, Dominic, I hate doing this, man. I hate correcting you and proving my point at your expense. I find no joy in that, brother. But look, if it helps some of our other listeners that have misconceptions and feel the same way you do, well, then I'm happy to do it. But dude, just stop, man, already. Just stop, dude. Just stop, dude. Look, man, you're not on my level, dude. And once again, I'm not saying that by boasting. I'm just saying, why are you arguing with me? Because, dude, it's not a fair fight. It's like Jaron Boots Ennis versus Amanta Stanionis tonight. So please stop, dude. Big Luke says this, Hugo. They should have had a penis check in that women's UFC fight tonight. Oh, he says that broad looked like the missing link. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, you're going to make me break out the Charles Bronson. Hey, they should have had that fight in Amsterdam because of all the dykes. Woo! Oh, Ching Yao. Dominic, dude, you know what? I'm not even going to respond anymore, dude. It's a waste of time. Do me a favor, man. Click on the link if you want to have a conversation. But I'm pretty sure that you're never going to do that because you don't want to be put in check live on the air. because dude, in order to have a fair argument or a fair debate with me, I'd have to probably take out half my brain and eliminate 90% of the experience I have in this business. Because, dude, there's no substitute for experience. Ugo, in any line of work, is there any substitute for experience?
No, it matters a lot. Most of the time, anybody that's worth the salt, you have experience over.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, that's how you learn. Like,
Yep.
honestly, man, I wouldn't know everything I know about this business if I hadn't worked with Don Chargan for an extended period of time, or Emmanuel Stewart, or James Gogi, or Ronnie Shields, or Joe Goosen, or Abel Sanchez, or Barry Hunter, or Mike Stafford. I I wouldn't know any of this stuff. Once again, man, I didn't come up with this. And I'm happy to relay all of this info from these great men for all of our listeners. And once again, the reason why I came up with this podcast, me, Ronnie, James Gogi, and the reason why we came up with this podcast was because our ideology was, if you teach fans more about the business, then they'll complain less and they'll understand the sport more. But it really hasn't worked out that way, has it? Because we have guys like Dominic who actually think that they know the sport without actually working in it. Like, seriously, why would you know it? Why would you think that you know it? Look, I've been a fan of the NFL for 40 years, brother. Over 40 years. That doesn't make me an expert in football, does it, Hugo?
Nope.
So try thinking of it that way, Dominic. Because I tell you what, man, it's become embarrassing, man. Just stop. Just stop, dude. Look, just because you know more about boxing than your next door neighbor or the guys waiting in line behind you at the HEB, just because you know more about boxing than they do doesn't mean you know boxing. Doesn't make you an expert. So stop, dude. Stop, man. Oh, hold on. Look at this, Hugo. Dude, he keeps trying. Hold on, Joe, let's be real here. Getting Don Chargan's coffee and clean his drawers is not working with him. Well, you know what, dude? Writing his memoir, doing his press releases for all of his fighters, doing his PR for all of his fighters. Yeah, I'd say that's working with his promotional company and Golden Boy. And I can guarantee you this, Dominic. You would never be able to say that about working with any of the great men that I just mentioned. You could never say that, Dominic. And once again, I'm not being mean. I'm being honest. Why would they waste their time with you? What skills do you have? Do you know how to write? Do you have a nice voice? Do you do commentary? Do you know anything about PR? Do you know anything about this business? What do you have to offer, dude? What do you actually do? Okay, I think I proved my point. I'm going to get off on Dominic, man. I find no joy, man, in putting someone in their place. But it gets a little tiresome and tedious when there's a guy in the chat constantly trolling me. And he knows better. So before we let you guys go, because it's approaching midnight my time. What do you want to see? Ugo, what do you want to see from Drawn Boots Ennis next?
I want to see him stay busy. Possible matchups could be Zoo, Mortazalia, Virgil, obviously. I don't think the Crawford fight will ever happen. I don't know if he ever goes back down after the Canelo payday. So, why would he? So, yeah, just about anybody. But yeah, I would like him to move up. That seems the only reasonable choice. Staying at 147, there's nothing other than maybe considering if Ryan stays at 147. But I think he moved up, right? So that'd probably be the only other fight that I think people would want to see.
Yeah,
So
but what is the likelihood of Oscar De La Hoya making that fight happen?
yeah, that too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
So
honestly,
yeah,
Ryan is such a big ticket seller and a big attraction. In my opinion, he's the next big star when Canelo retires. If he keeps his head on straight.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
honestly,
Yeah,
honestly, that's how I see Jerron Boots Ennis. But Jerron is, man, he stays in the gym. He doesn't party, doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink.
yeah,
He stays in the gym. He's a good kid. He listens to his dad. Like, honestly, this kid, if Ryan Garcia were more like Jerron Boots Ennis, man, oof, sky's the limit for him. But see, that's why I'm saying Jerron Boots Ennis has it all.
yeah.
He's got the
Very
potential
disciplined
to
outside.
be one of the next big stars of the sport. Ryan's almost there, but he just needs to surround himself with the right people, man. Let's just be honest. I mean, if you don't surround yourself with the right people, man, your career can go down in flames in a hurry. And
Yeah,
Jerron's doing the right thing, man.
yeah. It shows in the ring too. That's what it shows in at least when he puts it together when Jerron's on point like today. With the given style matchups. I think he does good overall most of them, but it also factors in considerably. Outside the discipline, no bullshit, none of this. Crap, baby mama drama, owing people money, blah blah blah. It's all straight to the gym and out. Discipline, So
Yeah, I mean, look,
great, good for him.
Errol Spence Jr. now is singing the blues. And he just said, you know what? If I could go back and tell my younger self anything, I would tell myself not to drink and party between fights because it's a real hindrance on your career and it really shortens your career considerably. And Oscar De La Hoya would probably tell his younger self that as well. Um, and Jerron Boots Ennis doesn't do that. Like, I guarantee you he's going to be back in the gym on Monday. That's what the greats do. Terrence Crawford, he doesn't party, he doesn't drink, he doesn't abuse his body. Bernard Hopkins as well. Those guys live the Spartan lifestyle. And that's why I'm so high on Jerron Boots Ennis. Because he's a good kid. He's good for the sport. He's going to be an excellent ambassador. He's got elite level skills, elite level natural gifts, natural athletic gifts that you can't teach. And he's good. He's a good kid. He doesn't get into trouble like our Adrian Broner. Like, when is the last time we've seen a big star not get in trouble, beating the shit out of women, drinking too much, partying? Like, when has boxing ever had that? Can you think of anybody?
Um, nope. The closest thing maybe right now would probably be. I mean, he's not doing nearly half of what you mentioned, but he's completely chaotic. Would be Tio, but I don't know even then. Yeah,
Oh man,
he's not
Tiafimo.
even. Yeah, it's
Dude,
crazy.
Tiafimo. I like, honestly, I don't even think Tiafimo can sell as much as Devin Haney.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
and
Think
even
about
then,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, dude, Tiafimo, man, with all this talk about the takeover, it's like, damn, dude, just stay active, get in the ring, quit pricing yourself out of opportunities. Just fight, man, and quit talking so much shit. That's what I'm saying, man. Jerron Boots Ennis, he's got it all, man. He's what you hope to have from your ambassadors of your sport. He's a good kid, well spoken. His dad is very hands on. He doesn't play the fool. He doesn't act stupid in public. He doesn't say stupid shit. He will represent the sport the right way. Like, could you imagine Jerron Boots Ennis doing half the shit that Ryan did in the build up for the Haney fight?
No, they're completely different people. It's night and day, basically. So,
Yeah. But I tell you
because
what, man. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say it's like John Boots Ennis is like the talent without the curse of talent. You know, Ryan is just the same old story. He's talented. He has everything. You know, he has the money. He has the women. He has the opportunities, the popularity. So that's what makes him a bit different, I'd say, in my opinion. Objectively speaking, looking outside of the sport, he's the talent without the curse of the talent.
Yeah,
So
you know what? That's very well said, brother. And Ryan, I can tell you this, man. If he only surrounded himself with the right people, because he's actually a good kid. Henry did an excellent job raising him. He's a very devout Christian, and he's anointed, but he's not recognizing his potential because he hangs out with riffraff. That's it.
yep,
That's it. Hold on, Dominic, dude. Uh, like I said, man, I think this guy just wants to be the contrarian. A rock on my backyard has more personality than Boots Ennis. Come on, Joe. Um, how was Ugo? To the best of your knowledge, how is Canelo's personality? How is
yep,
how is how is Chavez Senior's personality?
yep.
What
That's
was
all.
his personality back then?
Yep, that's all I have to say about that.
Like what are you like? Dude, do you know anything about this business, Dominic? How is Marvin Hagler's personality? And he was a mainstream guy. He was on Old Spice commercials. When is the last time you've seen a fighter on a mainstream product, Fortune 500 products commercials? When is the last time? Marvin Hagler was a mainstream guy. How was his personality, Hugo?
Yep, very Spartan like. No bullshit, no
Yeah,
nothing.
dude, he had the
Did his job.
personality of a stick.
Yep.
But hey, what do I know? Once again, Jerron Boots Ennis showed everyone tonight. And we'll wrap it up here, guys. We're already almost 90 minutes in. And Hugo, thank you for joining me tonight, man. So who would you like to see him fight first at 154? Because I'll be honest, I don't care to see him fight either Barrios or Norman Jr.
Yeah, I would like to see Zoo or Mortazayev. That'd be interesting. But practically in everybody, I mean, ultimately, the fight to happen, I think the biggest fight is Virgil
Yeah.
down the line. But any of those matchups I like, I enjoy. I think he does beat most of them. If he stays consistent and puts it together and gets better, yeah, I think he beats everybody mostly. So
Yeah, look, I'll say this, guys. And once again, we saw tonight why Terrence Crawford wasn't interested in fighting Jerron Boots Ennis. Because he's viewed by most to be more risk than reward. And yeah, he's that good, guys. He's that good. Like, honestly, I don't see anyone beating him anytime soon. I don't see anyone beating him anytime soon, especially at 47. Maybe at 54, and I would still favor him over Virgil. I would definitely favor him over Boachuk and Mirzaliev. And dude, honestly, you might have to bring up murder charges, man, for fighting Zoo and Fundora. Shit. Dude, can you imagine Ron Boots Ennis versus Sebastian Fundora? Like, dude,
Yeah,
how do you think that fight would look?
he's just gonna piece him up everywhere. Pandora's.
Oh, dude.
It would be it would a barrage of madrazos, or straight madrazos
Yeah,
everywhere. You know.
it would look ugly, dude. Like, honestly, I wouldn't want to see that fight. But hey, he's a title holder. Can't take anything away from Fundora. But I tell you what, guys, sky's the limit for Jaron Boots Ennis. He's a special fighter. And if you didn't know it before tonight, now you do. That was a brilliant performance against a very good reigning champion and with a deep amateur pedigree, former Olympian, undefeated. A lot more skilled than he looked in the ring tonight. But that's how good Jaron Boots Ennis is, guys. A special, special fighter. And I can't wait to see his career flourish further. But once again, guys, it's going to take the opposition. And it's going to take, look, Eddie Hearn, let's be honest, guys. He doesn't have a great track record in the American market. But I tell you what, man, he's got two of the most talented fighters in boxing at this time. With Jesse Bam Rodriguez and Jaron Boots Ennis. I mean, come on. They are the future of boxing, guys. So, Eddie, if you're going to be promoting these guys, don't fuck this up. Because the health of the sport depends on it. Ugo, any parting shots for our listening audience, sir?
Once again, always appreciate your time. Appreciate the panel, the other guy that was here. Don't really talk to him much, but Tony, shout outs to him. Hopefully Boots can stay consistent. That's what I'm looking into. Because to be honest, Boots should have been going on and about and trying to fight everybody a long time ago. I think he's behind. He has to make up for the time, you know. And this applies to most of the fighters. Just shut the fuck up and fight. We want to see you fight. All the crap outside of the ring doesn't matter. We just want to see you fight. We want to see you get better. If you don't, then don't complain that you're not being watched because you're not doing anything for us, for everybody, really. But yeah, but that's it. Yeah, good night of boxing. Good night of boxing.
Very well said. Very well said, Ugo. I couldn't have said it any better, brother. Oh, wait. Hold on. Dominic is poking jabs at me that I said Boots is a special fighter. Well, Dominic, throughout the calendar year in boxing, how often do you see special fighters put forth special performances against fellow champions, current champions? How often do we see something like this? Ugo? How often do we see something like this?
Yeah, not too often. We just saw it now, today, tonight.
Dude, it's like he made it look easy. He made it look easy. And Montes Stanionis is an excellent fighter. He made it look easy, guys. How often does that happen? Once again, we saw Terrence Crawford do it when he whooped the shit out of Errol Spence Jr. How often do we see that, guys? Not very often. So, yes, it's merited. But I wouldn't expect you to know something like that. So there it is, guys. Once again, thank you, Ugo. Thank you, Tony, for being on the program. And, guys, join us tomorrow night. We're going to have a special guest. We'll be on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. On behalf of Ugo and Tony, I'm Joseph Heron. You've listened to War Week Boxing. Have a great evening, everybody.
Radvashan Holdings proudly presents War Week Radio Chats with ring announcer Joseph Herring.